The Call of Duty franchise has been releasing games for over 16 years. Starting with World at War, most titles have released with 3 separate game modes: campaign, multiplayer, and zombies. As you may know, I, as well as many others, have enjoyed playing the zombies game mode throughout the years. One aspect that created and solidified the zombies community was the simplicity of the game. Shoot zombies, get guns, and survive. However, with the release of Black Ops 4, the zombies game mode seemed more complicated than usual, with different perks, a different perk system, new user interface, Elixirs and Talismans, and perhaps the biggest curveball of them all, a new, completely alternate storyline. New players might get lost in the jumble. In this video, I will give new or returning players who want to try Black Ops 4 Zombies a complete guide on the basics. I will be talking about the basics of a classic match or just a normal match with your friends. Shout out to Sunzu556 on Reddit who gave me the idea for this project. The first thing I want to touch on is the lobby user interface. When in a lobby, the first panel in the bottom left displays Laboratory. In here is where your Nebulium Plasma is stored. You might be wondering what Nebulium Plasma is. Similar to Liquid Divinium from Black Ops 3, Nebulium Plasma is something earned in-game. It is based off XP earned within a certain amount of time. Every 3 minutes, as long as the player has ascertained at least 1,600 XP, a plasma is given. The player can use these in a lobby after the game or before to buy elixirs and talismans. We will get into what elixirs and talismans are and what they do soon. Next, we have the Create a Class panel. This allows the player to customize their loadout for that game, similar to multiplayer. You can have multiple classes and earn more the higher level you are. Upon opening the Create a Class feature, the player is met with a place to choose your 4 perks, elixirs, set talismans, choose your starting weapon, equipment, and your special weapon. First thing I'll be going over in the Create a Class is the new perk system. In Black Ops 4, there was a newly introduced, controversial new perk system. The player can select 4 perks to be assigned to any of the 4 perk machines around the map before the game starts. Any perk can go in any perk machine the player desires, allowing for the customization and strategic placements of perks. I'm not going to go into detail about each specific perk because the game provides its own description, which I think most players should understand. The last perk slot, however, contains your modifier perk. Again, this can be any perk you wish to assign to that slot. What modifier does is it gives you a special added bonus, so to say, to that perk. An example for this would be stamina up, which normally just increases your sprint duration, but if it's in the modifier slot, you have unlimited sprint. Modifier is only active when all 4 perks are bought. If a player goes down, instead of losing all the perks, the player will lose 2 of them. In solo, the player will lose 2 of them. And if the player goes down again with only 2 perks, the player will not have any perks left over. In co-op, 1 perk is automatically lost when going down, and the rest begin to fade away, so to speak, until the player gets revived. The longer the player is down, the more perks they will lose. Moving on from perks, we will discuss elixirs. If you're familiar with the Gobblegum system, this will be easy to get the hang of. While setting up your class, you can choose 4 elixirs. These 4 you selected will be able to be used in-game. They grant you added bonuses when used. Examples include equipment, which refills a player's grenade slot, and temporal gift, which increases the duration of power-ups. Certain elixirs only have a finite amount of uses. Classic elixirs, which everyone has access to, are infinite by nature. After usage, the elixir is lost, and if you want to use it again, either because you have multiple or it's a classic, it has a cooldown that increases the higher the round you are. The player will always have the 4 elixirs at their disposal, so they can use any elixir whenever they want, as long as the cooldown isn't active. Moving on to the rarity, the elixirs have 5 categories. The classic elixirs are always there, and the player has unlimited uses of them. Next are the finite elixirs, which have 4 subdivisions: common, rare, legendary, and epic. These elixirs can only be used in a certain amount of time, depending on how many elixirs the player has. You may be wondering how you get more elixirs. Well, the laboratory mentioned earlier grants you elixirs. Similar to Black Ops 3, the player uses Nebulium Plasma, previously mentioned, to spin for elixirs, either 30, 45, or 75 plasma. The higher the cost, the higher the rarity. However, each spin will always yield 3 elixirs. The quantity doesn't fluctuate depending on the price, only the quality. Next, we'll be talking about talismans. First, I'm going to explain what talismans are and how they function. Talismans are a new in-game enhancer exclusive to Black Ops 4. Examples of this are Charm of the Miser, which lowers the cost of Pack-a-Punch, and Sigil of the Fourth Circle, which grants the player his or her modifier whenever the fourth perk is bought, even if the player does not possess all the others. These effects, as well as many others, will last the player the whole game. After the game is over, however, it is consumed and cannot be used again, unless the player has multiple. The process of obtaining these is akin to the process of obtaining elixirs. However, unlike elixirs, the higher the cost of plasma, the more chance there is of getting a rare one, or even one at all. Sometimes the lower cost spins don't even give you a talisman. The talismans have 4 rarities, the same as elixirs, but there are no classic talismans. Every talisman will have a cost and a boolean plasma. You can only equip 1 talisman per game as opposed to the 4 elixirs. Moving on to the right side, the starting weapon. This is pretty self-explanatory. The player can now choose their starting weapon. Next we have equipment, which is also pretty self-explanatory. You are now able to choose your equipment. Lastly, we have special weapons. As previously mentioned, there are 2 storylines in the current Zombies game mode. There is the Aether storyline and the Chaos storyline. Each map is associated with one of the 2. I will be getting into further details regarding these 2 storylines later, but for now, just know that each storyline has a different set of 4 special weapons. For the Aether, we have the Hellfire, Overkill, Path of Sorrows, and the Ragnarok DG5. The Chaos maps feature the Chakrams of Vengeance, Hammer of Valhalla, Scepter of Ra, and the Viper and Dragon. All of the special weapons can be used in-game after a charge meter is filled. When activated, the player can use the weapon for a certain period of time, which, when that time is over, the special weapon is stowed and cannot be used again until it is charged with kills. Through getting kills while the special weapon is active, the weapons level up to a max level of 3. With each level, there is a new power granted that your special weapon can perform. The weapon still retains all previous powers. Starting with the Hellfire, the first level the player has is a flamethrower. In level 2 comes a blast vent, which projects a gust of air, and finishing off level 3 gives the player the Infernal Tempest, which is a fire tornado that roams the immediate vicinity. Next, the Overkill is your standard death machine from the older games. When leveled up, the Overkill gains the ability of a grenade launcher. Obtaining the final level rewards the player with a tactical nuke, which does what as the name suggests. Path of Sorrows starts with giving the player the ability to slice and dice the zombies to their heart's content. Upon reaching level 2, the player can now perform a merciless dash, which is the quickest and most practical way to move around the map. Arguably the best saving tool in Black Ops 4 Zombies is the level 3 ability of the Katana, Shadow of the Death, which grants invisibility and which in turn gives invincibility to the player for the remaining duration. Last but most definitely not least is the Ragnarok DG5. The player can perform a shock slam right away, which, at least in my opinion, is super fun and an awesome way to kill zombies. At level 2, the Ragnaroks gain the ability to stare nearby enemies with electrocute attack, which, might I add, is pretty underwhelming. Finally, upon reaching level 3 comes one of the best specialist abilities in the game, the Power Plant. What the player is able to do is plant the spikes in the ground, creating a mini force field of invincibility, killing all zombies with infinite damage, as well as rendering bosses useless by trapping them within the radius. The player who goes down and is within the radius when they are active is immediately revived and keeps all their perks. Only minor downside is that you can't put them away once planted. On the Chaos side of things, we will lead with the Chakrams of Vengeance. The standard attack is Flawless Vision, which throws the left chakram with the ability to chain to enemies. The right chakram also has a melee attack. Level 2 yields a speed boost, and level 3 gives the Lacerating Whirlwind, which as seen is a protective tornado surrounding the player. Next we have the Hammer of Valhalla. This comes equipped with the Thunder Strike, which is a melee attack that sends the enemy zombies flying like ragdolls. At level 2, the hammer comes with a Storm Barrier, which when used stuns enemies in the vicinity. Last but not least is the Lightning Bolt, which mercilessly attacks zombies with bolts of lightning. Moving on down, we get to my personal favorite, the Scepter of Ra. At level 1, the weapon is endowed with the Ray of Life, which shoots a beam from the staff that can heal players as well as damaging zombies. An added bonus, the Ray can revive down teammates and has a melee attack as well. Level 2, Vigor brings more of a perk rather than a weapon to the arsenal. Vigor gives the player resistance to catalyst zombie damage, which I will explain what they are later, and other status effects. One of the best specialist abilities is bestowed upon the player at level 3, Shining Beacon. This, akin to the Ragnaroks, plants a protective bubble around the player, slowly damaging enemies inside and also reviving players, including the planter who wanders inside this radius. To top things off, there is the Viper and Dragon, a dual-wield flaming shotgun and sword. Dragon, the left side weapon, fires a round of flaming shells towards the enemies. Viper, the green sword, slashes and swipes as a melee attack. Dragon now shoots explosive rounds and Viper swings twice at the target when reaching level 2. Level 3 gives the Viper the ability to give off sort of a monkey bomb type effect, which attracts the zombies and shreds them to pieces. Exiting the creative class menu, we have the Armory, a place where players can view all the weapons available in zombies. Each weapon can be personalized, where the player adds camos, kill counters, clan tags. In the Armory, the player can add attachments to their weapon, including sights. In order to unlock these attachments, the player has to level up their weapon by getting kills. The weapon can be leveled up even if it's pack-a-punch. Once the weapon reaches max level, it can be prestige just like multiplayer. The weapon will lose all unlocked attachments and the player will have to unlock them again. The weapon can be prestiged a max of 2 times. With the first prestige, the weapon has the ability to put the clan tag. With the second, a kill counter can be added. Camos are still retained through prestiging, however. Most camos are similar to multiplayer where a certain amount of headshots are required, but other guns such as rocket launchers and shotguns require kills. When the max camo is achieved, the player can now work for the technical camos. These involve certain challenges such as kill mini bosses or heavy zombies or get kills while the gun is pack-a-punch. After unlocking all those, the player is rewarded with a gold camo on the weapon. Unlocking gold for each weapon in certain categories such as SMGs or ARs, you get diamond camo for those weapons. Unlock diamond for all weapons, then you get dark matter. Next, we'll be discussing the storylines inside of Black Ops 4. First, the Returning Aether storyline, which may be familiar to returning players. This is your storyline with Dr. Richtofen as the main character through the story. Right now, the maps in the game that follow this story are Classified and Blood of the Dead. Next, we have the newly introduced story, Chaos Story. The story follows 4 main characters in the quest to find and save Alistair Rhodes, one of the characters' father, from a mysterious cult. In this universe, there is an element, Prima Materia, which contains a vast amount of power, and is what the cult is trying to get a hold of. There are 4 maps pertaining to the Chaos Story. They go in the order of Dead of the Night, Voyage of Despair, 9, and Ancient Evil. As players might note, each map, regardless of story, has a main Easter egg, or as they call it in the user interface, main quest. Each quest is a series of in-game steps the player can do to complete it. Some are rather difficult and some are easier. Each Easter egg gives the ending cutscene that gives player more info on the story. However, the Easter eggs of each map do not need to be completed in order, and you can do a map whenever you want. You also do not have to do the Easter egg every time you hop in the game. You can just have a casual time with your friends or by yourself. We'll start to wrap things up by talking about a few game mechanics that are different. Zombies now have a bleed out time, which means you cannot hold a zombie for longer than 10 minutes before they bleed out, die, and a new round will start. Players have the ability to pack-a-punch a weapon once for 5,000 points, which gives a big damage boost, and then an additional 4 more times for 2,500 points, which slightly increases damage, as well as adding special alternate ammo types, or AATs, to your gun. Once packed, a total of 5 times, the player can repack as many more times as they want to change the AAT, but won't increase damage. There are 4 different effects: Firebomb, Cryo Freeze, Kilowatt, and Brain Rot. These trigger around once every 2 minutes when shooting at zombies, and have different uses. Firebombs light the zombies on fire, as well as killing some zombies in the immediate vicinity of activation. Cryo Freeze slows down all zombies who are hit with it. Kilowatt shocks zombies, causing them to stand in place and can chain to other zombies, and Brain Rot converts a zombie to the player's side, chasing other zombies and killing them, lasting for around 30 seconds. This can only affect one zombie, and when it's done, the Brain Rot zombie explodes, which can kill any nearby zombies. These are similar to Black Ops 3 AATs, but they do not trigger as often and are definitely not as powerful. In solo, the player has a specific amount of lives rather than your typical quick revive setup. The player starts with 3 lives, indicated by the number below the character in the bottom left. The number isn't how many lives, but rather how many downs you can take before dying. Quick revive is still in the game, but it gives you faster regen time for health and increased movement speed after reviving someone. Speaking of health, health bar now shows a player's actual health rather than the player just relying on instinct. A normal zombie does 50 damage. If you are currently regenerating health and get hit, the regeneration stops, and the time period to wait to regenerate starts over. Once the shield is built, every player, not just the player who built it, can take the shield for free. If their shield breaks or is damaged, the player can rebuy or repair for 250 points. The same action can be repeated for an ever-increasing price, capping off at 1500 points. However, if a wonder weapon is unlocked through a mini quest, only the player who did the quest can receive it. The weapon will be available in the box. The last thing I'll cover in today's video are special zombies. Appearing only in Chaos maps, these zombies are special elemental zombies that have a specific effect. The gas catalyst emits an aura of stench, and any player within its radius takes 5 damage a tick. The water catalyst increases the health of nearby zombies, but doesn't attack the player at all unless it is the only type of zombie left. The fire catalyst is a slow moving zombie with buffed health. If the player gets too close to it, it explodes and deals 125 damage. When it is a part of the last few remaining zombies in a round, it speeds up to a running speed. Next is the lightning catalyst, which acts like a normal zombie except when it gets close, it stops and attempts to flashbang the player. This can be devastating because the player can't hear or see anything. Last but most definitely not least is the Blight Father. This monstrosity is a beast that can spawn on round 50 or any round after. It has 3 attacks, a melee, a spit, and a tongue grapple. The melee is a killer, dealing 100 damage. The spitballs come in 3s and chase you for a good bit until they either dissipate or hit you. Each ball does 50 damage, which is devastating if you get hit by all 3. The tongue grapple is a ranged attack that, if making contact, drags the player towards it, and when grasped, vomits on the player. The player can't get out once in the motion of being grappled, but once being vomited on, it can shoot to be freed. Another tedious feature is the ability to vomit on things, disabling them until they are clean for 500 points. Well, that's it for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. I know the first part of the video was a little boring, but I tried to fit in as much information as I could. I just want to help someone out there, and if anyone needs help, they can tell their friends, hey, look at this video. It's a good video for y'all. So yeah, try my best. It took me a while to put together, so a like or a comment would be appreciated. So have a good one, and I'll see y'all later.